Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a Sunday sermon. I hope that all of you are having a wonderful time preparing for Christmas. I know that we are celebrating it here, and we are particularly blessed this morning to have Joseph with us. Joseph, the father of Jesus, and he's going to give us the message this morning. So I know that he is here. We've been talking to him. So let us begin. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for listening. Every time that we get a chance to speak, we take advantage of it. It's very difficult getting our messages across to people. Individuals, they think they're very busy now, that they don't have any time to speak of God or of Jesus or any of the rest of us that have helped support God through the years. You see, I was incredibly blessed. I was chosen to be the father of Jesus. I had served God for many, many lifetimes through the ages. And he knew that I could be trusted. He knew that I could be trusted to do the absolute best that I could do to protect Jesus and to raise him and to show him the wonders of being a human. Notice I said something different this morning. Have you ever heard anybody say the wonders of being a human before? Probably not. You see, humans are a very unique creation of God. They don't exist on any other planet. They're not on any other world. They're very unique. God created humans to do good, to help each other, to learn to love, to coexist, to do many, many things. I'm going to speak a bit this morning about the birth of my son. He grew up to be an amazing person. He lived a very short life, but he accomplished things beyond the imagination. His words are revered by billions. His words have persevered for thousands of years. I cannot think of another individual that has done as much to change the world. Now, there are people that don't believe that my son ever existed, but I can assure you that he did. There are people that will tell you that they can prove that my son never existed, but he did. There are people that will tell you they can prove that God never existed and doesn't exist today, but he does. The Christmas season is very special. You celebrate the birth of my son. That's the obvious thing. That's why they call it Christmas. They don't call it Xmas or anything else. They call it Christmas because you are celebrating the birth of Christ. Many things took place around the birth. Many things that were miracles. Do you think that it was an accident that the holy wise men realized that my son had been born? They lived hundreds of miles away, but they received word through the angels that the Messiah had truly been born. They traveled hundreds of miles to see my son, and they brought us gifts. They brought us myrrh, frankincense, gold, all of the things of value in those days, and they did it for a reason. You see, there's always been very ultimate evil in this world, and Herod at that time was a personification of evil. He wanted his sons to be the king of the Jews, and he had heard the rumor that my son was would be the king of the Jews. So he decided that my son should be killed. The angels told us this, the wise men also came and they told us this as well. We used the gifts that the wise men brought to travel to Egypt. You see, travel was very difficult in those days and incredibly dangerous. There were no hotels or restaurants to stop to eat. You had to take your food with you. And you see, when Mary and I traveled to Bethlehem, we did not know that we would not be going home. We didn't realize at that time that Herod was going to try to kill our son. We knew we had to do everything we could to protect him when we got word, and we did. We had the assistance of God. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been possible. Do you think that Mary and I, two people that were almost living in poverty at the time, could have afforded to take our son to Egypt to protect him? We didn't have the money to do that. You see, God provided everything that we needed. He gave us the information and He gave us the means to do it. This was all prearranged. You see, the life of Jesus involved many, many souls that came back with him to serve. Souls were selected to live lives with my son. The life plans of many were pivoting around the life of my son. He needed support. He knew he couldn't do it on his own. He knew the Romans were going to be very difficult. These were all problems that were solved. Do you ever consider the fact of just how impossible it is for one individual to accomplish what my son accomplished? And it all started from a birth the same as all of you came into this world. You see, we had to train our son. The angels, we got much support, but things were very, very different. You see, when Mary gave birth to our child, no one ever heard the word Christianity. It didn't exist. Because my son created Christianity. But can you imagine what he went through during his life to create the religion that you now refer to as Christianity? He didn't have access to social media, radio, television. He had to speak to the people. He had to speak to them in small groups, and he had to speak the truth. He had to tell them things that registered, things that people would believe, things that people would understand. Now, you see, when he was born, nobody realized what was taking place. Mary and I knew. Mary's mother was with us. She was traveling along. See, you didn't know that, did you? We were traveling to pay taxes. We were coming to Bethlehem. Herod had laid rules upon the community that we were trying to follow. We were simple people. We were law-abiding. We were trying to simply do what we were told to do. We knew the Romans were incredibly strong, and we knew that there was no way that we could buck what they were saying, differ with them. They were cruel and their punishments were terminal. They had so-called courts, but everything was arranged. We knew that we had to obey what the rules were, and we did. We tried to do the best we could. We traveled as a family, and when we arrived in Bethlehem, we were very lucky. Now, I know all of you think that my son was born in a manger, but that's not true. We found an innkeeper that was very friendly to us. You see, the angels had spoke with him, and he understood that he needed to give our family a place that was secure. You only had to look at Mary to understand that the baby was about to arrive. The innkeeper and his family helped us give birth to our child. They were wonderful people. They're forgotten in history because nobody wrote this down. Nobody took notes. Everything that is written about the birth of my son was written from memory. In the beginning, as Jesus was growing up, people did not understand the special nature of our son. Nobody wrote things down while he was growing. We were in Egypt. We were trying to survive. We were doing the best we can to support raising our family in a strange land. There came a time that we knew we could return to Judea, but that was in the future. Many things took place at the birth of our child. People were informed. There were people in the Jewish faith that understood that at some time there was going to be a Messiah born. They never realized that my son was the Messiah, and they are still waiting. Sadly, the truth of who my son was did not sink in to the Jewish people. We were of Jewish descent. We understood some of the prophecies. We had heard what the priests were saying, but there was so much we did not know. We had to learn. We had to do our best. And we did. We accomplished a miracle of raising a small child at a time when the most powerful person in the area wanted to kill him and do harm. We went to a foreign country and we thrived and existed. All of these things took place because God had arranged miracles for us to help us raise the baby. Today you celebrate his birth. Many of you don't even know what you're doing on Christmas. There are people that don't believe in God, yet they still celebrate Christmas. That is the height of hypocrisy. That is something that should not be happening. You see, we do not want you to give these extravagant parties. We want you to simply focus on the fact that a baby was born that changed the world. No one like him has ever been born before or since. This little infant that came into the world, the same as all of you came into the world, accomplished things beyond the comprehension of anyone that ever looked down at him. You see, there were people that ruled. Herod had ruled. Herod was ruling. His sons would rule. Tiberius. There were many Roman emperors that ruled, but their names are all basically forgotten. But my son's name lives today and is worshipped by billions of people. Think of that accomplishment. From that simple birth came a man that could speak words that had never been spoken before. He spoke words that would be written down eventually, but in many instances, they would be altered. You see, it was a time where words weren't recorded. There were no printing presses. There was no way of quickly providing written information that could be passed on and used by others. It was a very elemental time. Yet the birth of my son is now one of the major events around the world. You see, Christmas is proof of the powers of God. Do you not think that God does not provide these people of the world with information that will lead to them believing in Him? Christmas is a miracle. Millions and billions of people celebrate the birth of a baby 2,000 years ago. It's a miracle. You see, God continuously creates these miracles. He does it every day. All of the beauty around you is a miracle. The beauty of looking at a newborn baby is the greatest of miracles. How that baby comes from two simple cells is amazing. Only God can do that. Humans are never going to be able to duplicate the process. From two single cells come billions in the form of a human being. Enjoy this Christmas season. Do not lose track of the fact that it is a celebration of the birth of a baby that changed the world. Many of you living today think you are able to change the world, and you may do it for a couple years, maybe a generation. But my son changed the world for thousands upon thousands of years. None of you will ever be able to duplicate what he did. And he did it through speaking simple words of love. Those simple words, they're the key to your learning and advancing on this planet. So have a wonderful Christmas. Contemplate my son. Think about what he accomplished. Think about the words that he's giving you today. Think about all the blessings that are around you. So thank you for allowing me to come through, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Focus on the true information about Christmas. Don't be misled. My son was real, my son is real, and God is real. Have yourself a wonderful holiday. Spend it with your family and tell them that you love them. Goodbye, and thank you. Thank you, Joseph. It's an incredible message. I want all of you to have a wonderful Christmas. We will be back Christmas morning. And when we come back, Jesus is going to have a wonderful message for you. So thank you so much for listening, and we will be back again next week.